In 1951, the first Beetle got rolled off the production line at VW. This would be the first of the automotives that would span a 72-year history into what we know today as the pioneers of South Africa's automotive industry. I'm at the National Sales Organization in Sandton, about to go meet the CEO of VWSA, the group, Martina Biene. Join me on this journey of the automotive history discovery. All right, Martina, thank you so much for making the time to be with us right here on the Podcast Cafe. In fact, I want to start off by saying happy belated birthday, 25th to, is it the Polo?
We've got the 25th edition of the GTI.
The GTI.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
We love to celebrate specifically from our performance models the anniversary. So Golf GTI turned 40 a couple of years ago, so we had this edition 40. And now the little brother of the Golf GTI, the Polo GTI, turned 25. So we thought it's good to celebrate also the Polo GTI. So now we've got this 25th edition.
Fantastic stuff. Coming back to home, I would like you to start off by taking me through the journey of the Eastern Cape manufacturing plant. A lot of activity happens there, and it's such an important part of the South African economy as well. What do you think has made it such a great success?
So we've been there as Volkswagen for 72 years.
Wow.
In Kariga, previously known as Uitenhage. With us in the Eastern Cape is the center of gravity, or the automotive hub for South Africa as well. With us, we've got our neighbor Isuzu, we've got Mercedes in East London, and we've also got the Ford engine plant. And Ford, I think, left a couple of years ago with the manufacturing, but still, it's kind of, I think it sits deep. So when Ford comes to Eastern Cape, everybody says, when are you coming back? The presence of the automotive industry, also in terms still today, in terms of export volume, in terms of contribution of these three brands being there to the automotive GDP, if I can put it like that, it's the biggest. The conditions in Eastern Cape are not the easiest. So we struggle with load shedding.
Okay.
As a manufacturer, I mean, every South African struggles with load shedding, but as a manufacturing plant and Isuzu and Ford as well, we are quite affected by load shedding. It became better. So we had engagement with the Minister of Electricity in May, and since then it really improved. So that's quite good. Also support of the municipality in Nelson Mandela Bay municipality. We've got a very well operating port that's on the positive side, which allows us to export our vehicles. We'll export a lot of vehicles to Europe. And we receive our import Volkswagen from other plants via PE port, so that works well. Probably road infrastructure, there is a bit of room for improvement.
Definitely.
But and also kind of our heritage also, I think, helps a lot. And we've got we're celebrating so many long service awards. So twice a year or three times a year, I'm handing over 40 years long service at VW, 35, another 40, and you kind of, we've got already like second and third generation of VW employees. So I think it's like there's a proud VW family working for us in the plant. So that's part of our success, I would say.
Let's say doing business in South Africa and Africa has always been looked at as something that is sort of difficult with all the challenges. What would you say has worked for Volkswagen looking at South Africa, and also what opportunities are there to expand into Africa?
So South Africa has put together a very good support policy, automotive incentive policy. It's It's called APDP. What I think the good thing about this incentive policy is South Africa has realized that the local market per se is too small. Because in automotive economy, it's all about economies of scale. So and because of the decent local market, which we hope it will grow in the future, that would help a lot. But there was also the knowledge about we'll need to export. And this incentive program incentivizes exports to get more volume produced and manufactured in the country to get a sustainable basis for the suppliers as well as much as for us. So the incentive program is very good. Still, I want the South African market also to grow, to come back to first pre-COVID levels, but then also leverage potential. There's a lot of potential in the South African market. As I earlier on said, we export to Europe currently, but European exports are coming under threat for us and for others, with Europe moving to electric vehicles. Okay. So by 2035, Europe will all new cars or new car registrations in Europe will be electric vehicles, and that with that combustion engines come of course under threat or are not in high demand anymore in Europe. Which would then for us either mean to move to electric vehicles, which I think is too early for South African market, yes, or would mean we'll look elsewhere to export, and that's why we are also so keen in looking into the African continent. We always say it's the last frontier in terms of automotive, because the new car density in Africa as a continent is quite low, but you've got all the economic indicators like GDP growth, population growth, and that's why we think with the low car density and the growth in the African countries, that's a nice place to play a role in the new car space. So that's why we are so keen also looking into Africa.
Okay, I would like to touch on the electric vehicle space a bit. I know in the South African market we're not exactly there yet, but what does it mean in terms of the kind of skills that, looking into the future, that you probably need to absorb the type of workforce for the future if cars are now electric? I'm just trying to think. A mechanic might not need a spanner, but they might need to understand cybersecurity, for example. What type of skills would you think in the future South Africans would need to have to be absorbed by the electric vehicles market?
So, I mean, in terms of manufacturing, fortunately, electric vehicles are not that much different to combustion engine vehicles. You're right, in the after-sales space, you need now, and that talks more to the dealer space, you need high voltage technicians. That's what is called electrical qualified persons, which is like a further development of a service technician or of a service advisor. So that's not too complicated, but you're right. It's a different training. That software space, which does not only come with electric vehicles, that's new, and that's specific, or that's probably more special, where we're looking now also in terms of operating system of vehicles, and looking more and more for software engineers. And talking us now means more on a global level, because we would not engineer our automatic driving, automated parking systems in South Africa, but that most likely is done on the global level. But the software stake in a car is growing tremendously. With that, you're right. There is, for me, when it specifically comes to battery electric vehicles, for me there is a huge opportunity for the country, not in the automotive industry, but when it comes to raw material beneficiation. Okay, like? So that's all the raw materials you need for batteries are in Southern Africa, almost all. Wow. And get mined here, so mining capacity. I mean, South Africa is big in mining, but then most of the materials get processed in China. So to build that capability between raw material mining and us manufacturers purchasing the material for building battery cells, that I think is a huge opportunity for the continent to under obeying the environmental and social governance to get like really a new industry and new technology to Africa.
Fantastic. What is your favorite thing about being in South Africa? I hear it's the second time that you are back in South Africa. What's your favorite part about working in South Africa?
Oh, there's so many. Why do I can I choose?
Give me as many as you want. Yes, tell me.
Only one.
Tell me.
No, I really enjoy, first of all, the people. South Africa is a very friendly, South Africa is a very friendly nation, and it's very friendly people. And I like that, and I like the diversity of cultures. So it's, for me, it's super interesting, and I'm having a lot of fun interacting with different cultures in South Africa. I'm a huge outdoor person, so I really love the country in the sense of countryside, in safari, in hiking, in what. I love the food and the wine.
Yes.
So it's almost a perfect country for me.
Fantastic. And then I just want to veer out on a general scope. What could you advise young SMEs that would like to be absorbed by bigger groups in terms of whatever it is? Are there tips in terms of entering the business space and wanting to attract maybe working relationships with bigger corporates?
So we are very much committed to develop SMEs. We've got in Carrera, it's not our own, but it's funded by us. We've got an incubator for start-up businesses, which then will turn into SMEs with a high rate of success. Some of them at the end work for us. Some of them find another business home. When we go there and they present, so what I always like is the passion about their idea they have. So that's really cool to see. And sometimes I think, like, let's get us as a huge corporate listen more to these guys in terms of passion and dedication to really get this particular thing done. And there's a huge variety. I've seen one who's purifying water and now delivers water to, for example, also us. So that doesn't matter what idea it is, as long as you're passionate about it. It's probably already 50% of the success. The automotive industry is not saying difficult to get into as an SME, but normally it is always about economies of scale. So if you produce a part for VW or whatever as an SME, you produce it 161,000 times a year or 171,000 times a year. So we are not that, we don't have much, and that talks to the industry. We don't have this kind of where you sit in your office or in your garage and then hammer a bit or whatever. So it immediately comes into bigger numbers. So, but we'll try to assist and grow, and there's also it's also nice to see when you walk the line in the plant. There is products from our dedicated SMEs we'll have to develop to see, but there is not a particular space where we can say this is where SME now must venture into, or this is it. I think great idea and passion. And that's it. And for those in the Eastern Cape, we can recommend our Razor Co incubator.
And what do you say is the difference between operations here and in Germany? What's it like? I mean, VW is from Germany. What's the German plants they like?
I mean, you'll see it, and I'm very happy that you come to visit us in Carrera. It's not much of a difference. It's probably we've got up-to-date robots and machines, but that we apply same standards to all plants in the world. So from a technology perspective, we've got a little less automation, which is good because it's it helps creating jobs. The more automation you've got, the fewer people work. So we are a little less automated than Germany, but for the rest, I would say it looks the same. It feels like every day I'm still fascinated that at the end there's 710 cars coming out of this plant a day. Wow. Like how that all gets put together, how really the right alloys come to the right car, and that the doors are not blue whilst the car is white at the very end. That, like, the precision, how that all works fascinates me, like really on a daily basis. So it's really cool to see. I've done that. We've got a nice initiative. It's called the Management Day in Production.
What's it about?
So the indirect staff, like the managers, and also me as MD, I worked 1 day in production. So I did the morning shift.
What's that like?
The morning shift starting 6 o'clock. I was there 5:30 because I wasn't so sure whether I find my station in assembly. And then you just you've got, of course, experienced operators, because you don't want the quality to come down, because no MD is at sector 85. And my job was fuel and dishwasher liquid and putting in the water cover for the water box. And
what was that like?
That was interesting. So it was because you do basically 7.5 hours a day. You do so at 6. You start at 6. You leave at 2:15. You'll do the same operations. So you do probably 240 to 250 cars a shift, and you do the same. And still you must, every time you'll do that, and maybe it was only 1 day, right? And there's the people work there for years, decades. So and then you must, every car, it's like you need the best quality. So you because you must make sure that this car is not sufficient, but is kind of perfect. And to 240 times a shift, motivate yourself to really do that. That was I was very impressed by those who not only do it a day, but who work there. And what I really liked also was the responsibility. So the people online, they help each other. So if the station before runs out of time, then you kind of can we jump in and help and really look. Or then every now and then there was a knob missing, because to close something, so then you run and fix that, although it's not your station. So the accountability was really good to see. And I had a lot of people that day coming and checking the cars. So there were so many people obviously curious, what is she doing there? So every time, and what are you doing? No, I'm checking bolts. Okay, at this particular station, you check the bolts. Yeah. And then the next one was checking software, and then the next one was checking something. So it was really, really nice to interact with them.
That is quality over standard. They have to maintain that.
They have to maintain that, but they normally don't check all at my station.
Looking at the VW experience, in South Africa, we love the GTI. I heard you mention the word VRPA. What is it about? I almost said the Golf. What is it about VW that you think the people, or let me say South African people, love so much? I mean, to give a car a nickname, so many different names, must be because we're so attached to these cars. What would you say you've noticed the relationship between the product, which is the VW product, and the customers, which are the people?
Yeah. So I think the GTI really hits the nail. In terms, it's got swag, really, and South Africans love sporty cars, and that's not only once, but that's a sporty car with a VRPA, that particular sound, that particular style of a GTI. I think that. I'm not so sure whether Volkswagen did customer research on the South African customers prior to the GTI, but I think it's a perfect match. That power, swag, look, and sound, I think that's it. And also the fact, I mean, it's not only the GTI. The City Golf is also a legend, and that doesn't have any VRPA, to be quite honest, But the fact that you still see them on the streets today, so that durability, also I think to a certain extent German engineering with a South African heart. That's and then you grow up in a City Golf, so then you probably today want a Vivo. So that's the benefit of also having a very positive heritage.